not doing risk assessments on training flights, and we should be. Every single flight we make should be risk assessed. And the reason for that is because if we don't do it, they're not going to do it. Students won't do it. And if it's boring and if it's mind numbing to do, then it's just one of the, and also most of the time the result is what? Well, yeah, it's good enough. Let's go. Why did we bother with all this stuff in the first place? Until it isn't. So risk management has to be taught from a whole different perspective. So let's go through it on the outline here. So why do most training flights skip a risk assessment? Because it's boring. And practice areas close by, and when's a weather briefing required? It's required when you're outside of the vicinity of an airport. That's what the rule says, 91, in part 91. But it's important to know that a fair number of accidents involve training flights and tend to be centered around loss of control. And a lot of that can be prevented. By the way, the highest fatality rates are inadvertent flights into IMC. Those are the least survivable risks that we have with loss of control. Now let's speak a little bit about a hazard versus a risk. We got to set a little bit of terminology, but I guarantee you here in about 10 minutes, maybe less than that, around 10 minutes, we'll start using some tools and some things that will make risk assessment fun to do, interesting to do, and will give your student really quick and easy tools in order to make decisions, including you. All right, so that's my promise to you. But until then, I need to set a little bit of background here a little bit. So I need to tell you what a hazard is. So a hazard is something that could be dangerous to you. It's something that happened for sure. Like I usually pick this example, alternator failure. So an alternator failure, you say, okay, that's a hazard. The alternator failed. You see it's failed? Yes, it's gone. Now, what is the risk to you? So this depends. This depends on the airplane, the type of environment, many, many things. But let's set the situation. So let's say that you're a 2-mile final for an airport. You've already you're getting your clearance to land. They give you a clearance to land, and you tell the tower right then, you say, hey, I lost the alternator here. So, it may be such that I may not be able to communicate once I get to the ground. Okay, and it's a VFR day. What's the risk in that? Very, very low, right? Really low. So maybe you won't be able to use the flaps. Wham, maybe, right? It's not going to be a bad day. You're going to get out and be just fine. But now take the same alternator failed again, but now you're IMC, single engine airplane at night over the mountains going to Reno, right? Because you thought that was a good idea. And then the nearest airport from you that has an instrument approach is maybe 50 miles away. Now we have a whole different situation. We have the same hazard, but a lot higher risk. And so the idea here is, how are we going to be able to take any hazard or project the hazard, take any hazard that could be there, and then turn it into what kind of risk is it to me? That's the kind of strategy.